Hi, Shantal Taylor, Shining Stars. Today we're in the office of Lake County State's Attorney Michael Nerheim. We're here and we're going to hear the heart behind community service. State's Attorney Nerheim, thank you again for allowing us in, and
Sure.
just the wonderful opportunity that we're going to have to hear from you and what you've been doing. It's been 3 years now. You were elected November 12th, 2012. And it is just so awesome that we have just watched you do tremendous things in this office. You came behind someone that was in the office for decades, and you've just literally hit the ground running. Just having the wonderful opportunity to see how just your first year in the office, you were nominated and you won, being the 2014 State's Attorney of the Year, the 2014 Moxie Award by the Illinois Coalition Against Sexual Assault. You also received the 2014 Frederick Milton Thrasher Award from the National Gang Crime Research Center for outstanding leadership and prosecution. So just share with us what it's been like these past 3 years serving us here in Lake County as the Lake County State's Attorney for all people.
Well, it's been great. I absolutely love my job. I do. I'm one of those, I think, maybe rare people that I look forward to coming to work every day. And I have a great office here, as you've seen.
You do.
You've been around here and know some of the folks, but I'm really fortunate to have so many good people. There's 150 people that work in this office.
Nice.
And a lot of people think they're all lawyers. They're not. Only about half of them are lawyers. So we have investigators, victim witness coordinators, paralegals, support staff. We just have a great team of people that are really dedicated to their job. And the awards you mentioned are really, they're great, and I'm really proud of them, but it's the people that work here that do all the work, that go to court every day, that represent justice, that work with victims, that are in the trenches every day, and I'm really proud. A lot of them have received recognition from organizations like MAD or AIM or victims groups or police departments, and I'm proud of the work that this office does. And it makes it easy for me as the leader of the group to have so many good, quality, dedicated people working here. I mean, it's not unusual at 6, 7 o'clock at night to have people that are still here working, or people here on a Saturday and Sunday, and they do it on their own time, and they do it because they care.
That's awesome. Now, what I want everyone to know in regards to the Lake County State's Attorney's Office, we are here in Lake County, the third largest county in the state of Illinois, and there are approximately 750,000 people. And the amazing thing about the State's Attorney's Office and State's Attorney Nerheim is that he is responsible for the justice for those that will need your service. Now, even when you ran for office, I really appreciate some simple words that you shared. You shared that you're running for your family and ours. And State's Attorney Nerheim, I want to tell you thank you for being available. Thank you for being willing to not only be in the trenches with those out there doing different good around the community, but your love to see young people and even older people have an opportunity to not only receive justice, but have proactive measures, like you're big on wanting to make sure children have all the I was just looking at something you had just shared about wanting children to be empowered so that we can stop them from a life of crime before it even begins.
Prosecutors' offices, I think, traditionally were very reactive, where there would be a crime committed, the police would investigate the crime, they would finish their case, then they would bring it to prosecutors, and we would sort of take it and go to court, and then that was our role in the whole process. And prosecutors historically generally weren't too interested in what happened before that. They're just worried about what happens in court. And recently, prosecutors' offices really around the country, and certainly ours in Lake County, we don't limit ourselves to that. We really believe that it's our job. Certainly, it is our job to make sure justice is done in court, but we look at it more globally in terms of justice, and part of that is to get way in front of the issue, to try and prevent crime in the first place, to get out into the community, to work with people. And we have a lot of programs in Lake County that we're working on to help prevent crime. We have anti-bullying, teen dating violence programs. We have a whole initiative with regard to substance abuse. We have specialty courts, veterans court, health court, drug court, mental health court, and drug court. We have diversion programs. So there's a lot of things we do that once people get involved in the criminal justice system, to hopefully help make that a positive experience and hopefully their last and only experience with the justice system. But really, even before that, to get in front of this issue. One of the things that we've done recently, we have a Knowledge is Power program where we go out in the community, and in particular in the Zion, Waukegan, North Chicago area, where we have a lot of young people that, quite frankly, their experience with police and prosecutors and justice hasn't always been very positive. And when they think of a police officer or a prosecutor or a judge, they may not have a positive connection there. And a lot of it is a lack of understanding. A lot of it is being mistreated historically by people in authority. So what we've done, because I know the reality, I know the hearts of who works here, whether it's the judges, whether it's the police, the prosecutors, I always believe that the best way to overcome misinformation is to provide the real information when you can. So what we do is we bring those kids in and we let them spend a day here and intern in our office to kind of see who we are, see what we do, be part of our office for a short period of time, and give them a little taste of criminal justice. And it's my hope that we'll, in doing that, accomplish a couple of things. Number one, create a more positive relationship between law enforcement in general and young people, but also inspire some of those young people to become state's attorneys, to become defense attorneys, to become judges or police officers or probation officers or corrections officers. There's a lot of great careers in law enforcement, and we want to inspire some of these people in our community to reach for those goals.
I wanted everyone watching to know that when I served as Zion City Commissioner, it was just a wonderful thing to have State's Attorney Nerheim come and be a part of our 8th grade initiative. Remember that,
yeah,
right? You know, it was like, that was like probably one of the first things you did, you know. And I just want to tell you again that I believe that it really helps to reach the heart of the community by being a part of the community, even if it's being a part of a Dreamer's Breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning. And you know, I was just kind of watching from your Facebook page some of the things that you've already done, like ending out January with that huge Deerfield event with the children. You know, making them aware of, you know, wise choices when it comes to not doing drugs. But then you spent February doing a straight talk forum with the NAACP, and again, just as you mentioned just a few moments ago, sharing about just wanting to bring some fairness and some community understanding to if anyone feels like they've, you know, had some experiences of injustice. But then you even did something else that I think is so great. You know, he took the time to be a part of the the 1 billion rising in Lake County for those against domestic violence. State's Attorney Nerheim was right there, a part of that program. And I want to tell you, I don't see where you're sleeping.
No. You know what's really neat is we do have a wonderful county. I mean, certainly there's problems, there's a lot of issues, and unfortunately I see the worst of the worst every day. So I'm very aware of the bad stuff that's going on in Lake County. But there's an awful lot of good stuff going on in this county, and there's a lot of great organizations, like the organizations that sponsor the 1 Billion Rising event, like the organizations in Deerfield that sponsor the heroin forum that we've been at, and we're at these types of events all over Lake County. And there's a lot of great organizations, whether it's exchange clubs, Kiwanis clubs, Rotary clubs, you name it. I mean, there's a lot of great groups out there that are doing a lot of really positive, wonderful things. And I'm happy to go to as many or all of them as I can, because I want to help support those events, because they help us. I mean, this is my community. I grew up in Waukegan. I feel very close to this whole county, and when I ran and I talked about my family and running for my family and yours, those weren't just words. I mean, that's how I look at my job, because there's nothing more important to me than my family, and I know most people feel that way as well in terms of their families, and that's how seriously I take this job. It's about protecting people and protecting their families, and protecting our community, and ensuring justice is done, which is it's an awesome responsibility, which that probably causes me to lose more sleep than anything. It's just thinking about the huge responsibility that I have and how important what we do is. But it's also incredibly rewarding.
That's what I was going to say. And you show, State's Attorney Nerheim, you do such a wonderful job showing the true care and the quality not only of your character, but also of how you want that other person to feel. You want, you know, them to feel like they matter. And that is truly what you have done over the past 3 years being in office. Now, do you think 5 years down the road you'll still be wanting to be a part of a dreamer's breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning?
I hope so. I think I will. And when that day comes, if a day comes where I don't want to do that stuff anymore, then I shouldn't sit in this chair, because
that's it.
And you can only do these types of jobs for so long, because they're very it's 24/7. I mean, it's nonstop. So whether it's, I'd love to. I'm certainly going to run for re-election, and I want to keep this job as long as I have that fire. But it's irresponsible to keep a job like this beyond when that fire goes out, because you really have to have it, because you have to want to go to that breakfast at 8 in the morning, or that event at 10 o'clock at night, or go sit down with the victim. Maybe it's just a victim you're meeting with on a Sunday morning. You have to want to do those things. Otherwise it's miserable, and I don't know why anybody would force themselves to do those types of things.
Good.
So I know that fire is going to burn for a long time, but it probably won't burn for forever.
Right.
And then I'll step aside, and there's plenty of people I know that have the same type of fire.
Very good.
For public service.
That is outstanding. Now, because justice is huge, and justice is something that everyone always seeks, and you know how sometimes people will have opinions on the other side of justice.
Right.
How do you feel about the different areas that this new RICO Act that has, you know, come to Lake County?
Right.
Can you just kind of, you know, just share how you feel in regards to the ultimate goal, and how you think that's going to happen, and what's going to do for us?
So RICO is, and we could probably spend an hour talking about RICO, but essentially what RICO does, it's modeled. There is a federal RICO statute that the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office back in the 80s used to go after the mafia. And it really, what it does is, traditionally criminals they would form criminal enterprises, and the higher-ups in those organizations could insulate themselves from criminal liability by basically having the underlings do all the dirty work for them. They would get in trouble, they would go to prison, but they would be easily replaced. But the meat of the organization, the command and control, so to speak, those folks would always be insulated. And the law recognized that that's really where there's a danger. Certainly individual criminals are a danger to society, but a criminal organization is particularly dangerous. So RICO was established to get to that issue, and it was always a federal statute. Recently, Illinois passed a state version of the RICO statute because our legislature recognized that we have a gang problem in Illinois, and that a lot of our street gangs are, number one, they're incredibly organized. There's a misconception that you have organized crime and then you have street gangs, and that street gangs are a bunch of thugs running around, you know. Street gangs are organized crime. I mean, these are criminal enterprises. They have constitutions, bylaws. They have a structure that would make some corporations jealous in terms of how they're organized.
I heard they have flow charts.
They do. So, and basically their business is violence, guns, drugs, human trafficking. So these are organizations that are really devastating our community. We're in the midst of an epidemic right now with regard to heroin. We have young people dying left and right all over this county. We have people that are battling very severe addictions. So these are drugs that are literally destroying our communities, not to mention the shootings and the murders and the violence. And those enterprises, by and large, are what is bringing that violence and those drugs into our community. So RICO is one tool. It's not the only tool, but it's one tool that we use to try to combat that. And I think it's a powerful tool, and it's a tool I'm going to use as long as I'm here, because it allows us to be very effective. Because we can go down the street and find some drug dealer selling drugs on a corner, and we can arrest him and we can send him to prison. But what's going to happen? Tomorrow there's going to be a different guy there. And we can arrest him and send him to prison. What happens? The next day there's a different guy there. So we can do that all day long. And that's traditionally kind of been how law enforcement has responded. But now we're going to take down that entire organization, and we're going to do that one organization at a time. Again, It's not the only tool, but it's an effective tool, and these are long-term investigations. The RICO case that we just charged, it's the first RICO case in the history of Lake County.
Wow.
That was a year-long investigation.
Okay.
Hundreds and hundreds of hours of overheard conversations, tens, 20, 30, 40,000 pages of police reports.
Wow.
This is a case we did with the FBI, so a lot of agencies involved. These aren't things that we just go and say, oh, go arrest a bunch of people, we'll charge them with RICO.
Right.
A lot of time goes into these investigations. They're very labor intensive, but they can have a big effect. That's part of our strategy, and that really goes after the supply of drugs into our community. But I also think in my heart that another effective way to combat drugs and violence is to go after the demand at the same time.
Right.
So we're working as aggressive as we are with the people that are selling drugs and shooting up neighborhoods. We are compassionate when it comes to people that are battling addictions. So we're trying to get those people into treatment. Again, we have diversion programs, we have first offender programs, drug court, mental health court, veterans court. Our focus on those people is to get them treatment so they don't want to buy drugs.
Right.
And in my opinion, that's how we're going to be effective, is don't just attack supply, don't just attack demand, go after them both. Try and solve both those problems, and that's how you're really going to see an impact. But again, RICO, I know there's a lot of discussion generated by it. It's just one of many tools that we use, but it's a very powerful and effective tool.
Okay, okay. And as we begin to wind down here with Lake County State's Attorney Nerheim, again, to hear the heart behind community service, something that we want to be able to ask you is, what do you see for the future? I mean, 4 years is coming up quick for you here. Yeah. And, what do you see as you have already applied yourself greatly in the Lake County community? What's in your heart, or what could you do even more? Sure. Or,
We're constantly evaluating and reevaluating, and what can we do better, where can we improve. There's a lot of initiatives that we've started. There's a lot of initiatives with, whether it be with gangs, whether it be with drug prevention. Those initiatives have to continue to grow.
Right.
None of this stuff is you have an idea, you have a meeting, and you just go do that, and then it's over. We have to stay at it. We have to keep at it. Heroin, for example, we have an initiative right now where we're the second county in the state of Illinois, one of only a few in the country, where we've outfitted our police officers with a drug called naloxone, which is, if somebody's having an overdose, they can issue naloxone to the person, and it basically brings them back to life.
Wow.
And that program's been effective for just a couple of months, and Lake County police officers in just a couple of months have saved 3 lives already.
Wow.
We've expanded the ability for people to get rid of unused prescription medication, because we don't want it ending up in our drinking water, and we don't want it ending up in our kids' schools being sold, and that also could potentially lead to further drug addiction, or it has its own negative effect. So this morning, for example, I was at a thing in Gurnee in the middle of a snowstorm, and 2 police departments brought in 600 pounds, Verdant Hills and Libertyville Police, of pills, unused prescription medication that they had collected. So these are initiatives that save lives. They're initiatives that work, but we have to continue to grow them. With naloxone being issued to law enforcement officers, that's great, but somebody's gonna overdose on heroin, they're gonna die. The police are gonna give them naloxone, they're gonna be brought back to life. That's a great thing, but then what? How do we follow up with that person and make sure they get the treatment they need so they don't go back to using heroin? Because it's such a strong addiction. When somebody overdoses and they're brought back, that's not the end of the day. I mean, we really need to reinforce treatment. So we want to continue all the programs that I've started here in Lake County. I want to continue to work. Every day I work on cases, trying to uncover old cases where we may have wrongfully convicted somebody.
Okay.
Some of these cases are cases that happened when I was in high school. Some of these cases are cases that happened 10 years or so ago. But it's still my responsibility to make sure that we got it right, and if we didn't, to do the right thing. And that's something that we have to constantly do, and review those cases. And they're going to continue to come. And I spend a pretty good percentage of my time reviewing cases that happened 10 years before I was elected.
Wow.
But again, it's still my responsibility.
Right.
So there's a lot of initiatives that we've started or continued, and we want to continue to grow those.
Very good. Well, what I would like for State's Attorney Nerheim to do now is just take a few moments to look into the camera and just tell a young person, older person, you know, the heart behind community service, you know, what it's been like for you to be here and what you continue to look forward to doing in the future for us here in Lake County.
Sure. I would just tell anybody watching that I'm very proud to be your state's attorney. I'm proud of the job that I have and the responsibility that I have. And if you have any questions about what we do here, because 15 minutes is not nearly long enough, we could talk for hours on any of these topics, but call us. We're very open. We have an open door policy. When we can talk about things, we will. We sometimes can't if there's pending cases because we have to respect the process. But to the extent that we can be as open as possible about who we are and what we do, I always want to share that. So we have Facebook, we have websites, or just call us. We're one of the rare offices, I think, where if you call our office, you're not going to talk to a machine, you're going to talk to a person. And that's who we are. This is a people business, and it's an important business.
Yes, it is. And State's Attorney Nerheim, I want to tell you thank you again. You're doing an outstanding job.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for being with us and, you know, sharing from your heart today. And so there you have it. Lake County State's Attorney Mike Nerheim, Shining Stars, Shantal Taylor signing off.